Let's talk about something that no one ever really talks about. Something wrapped in mystery, silence, and societal assumptions. Female desire. You see, the world has been very loud about what women should want. Security, stability, romance, a perfect family photo on Instagram. But very quiet about what women actually crave deep down in the places they rarely show. Today, we're going to peel back the layers. We're going to step into that space where honesty meets vulnerability and talk about the 5 deepest desires of women. The ones no one teaches, no one preaches, and no one dares to explore. Women are often told they need to find someone who can provide for them, someone who can offer financial stability, someone who has a good job, a solid house, and maybe even a good car. And while these things may offer a sense of security on the outside, they barely scratch the surface of what truly matters to her on the inside, because at the deepest core of her being, what she truly desires, what makes her feel alive, safe, and connected, is emotional safety, a type of security that can't be bought or built, but must be felt, cultivated, and consistently nurtured, because it's the foundation upon which everything else is built, the invisible glue that binds hearts, the air she needs to truly exhale and open up. And when she says she wants a man she can trust, she doesn't just mean someone who won't cheat. She means someone she can emotionally lean into, someone whose presence calms the storm inside her, someone who doesn't flinch at her truth but welcomes it, holds it gently, and tells her without words, "You are safe here." Because she is not looking for a savior, she is looking for sanctuary, a place where she can set her burdens down without being told to hurry up, without being judged for the weight she carries. And for most women, the desire to be emotionally held is not weakness, it's oxygen. It's the space where she blossoms, where she sheds the armor the world makes her wear every day, and that safety is not about fixing her problems or offering solutions she never asked for. It's about presence, about being fully there, fully engaged, without the urge to control or correct. And sometimes the greatest thing you can give her is your silence. Not the cold kind, but the still kind, the kind that says, "I'm here. Take your time." Because a woman will test you emotionally not to manipulate you, but to know if you are safe, if she can cry without you shutting down, if she can rage without you retreating, if she can be vulnerable without you turning it against her. And so many women walk around in relationships where they can't be themselves, where they have to smile when they're crumbling, where they have to pretend to be strong because the moment they soften, they're told they're too much, too sensitive, too emotional. But what if I told you her sensitivity is a gift? Her emotion is not drama, it's depth. And when she feels emotionally safe, she becomes a version of herself that even she hasn't seen before. She becomes playful, radiant, wild, sensual, trusting, open. Because when her nervous system feels secure, her femininity flows effortlessly, and in a world where she is constantly told to harden up, where she is praised for being independent but punished for being vulnerable, emotional safety is revolutionary, and you as a man have the power to be that revolution for her, not by being perfect, not by reading her mind, but by showing up consistently, by choosing curiosity over criticism, by being the place she knows she can fall apart without fear. And this kind of connection doesn't come from sweet words or grand gestures alone. It comes from emotional attunement, from knowing her patterns, noticing when her energy shifts, sensing when something's off and gently asking, "Talk to me. What's on your heart?" Without making it about you, without rushing to defend yourself, because when she trusts you with a raw truth and you hold it with care, something sacred happens. She lets you in, and not just into her life, but into her world, into her body, into her essence. And that is where intimacy is born. That is where loyalty is rooted. That is where desire is kept alive not by lust alone, but by the deep knowing that she can be all of herself with you. And if you're wondering why a woman might pull away even when things seem fine, ask yourself, does she feel safe with me emotionally, or does she just feel tolerated? Because emotional safety is not about agreeing with everything she says. It's about responding to her with empathy even when you don't fully understand. It's about letting her be wrong sometimes without using it as a weapon later. It's about validating her emotions without always needing a logical reason behind them. And when you master this, when you become that emotionally grounded space, she will pour into you like never before, not because she has to, but because she wants to, because her feminine energy responds to safety like a flower responds to sunlight. And when you give her that warmth, that steady presence, that loving container, she will unfold in ways that will blow your mind, because at her core, she is not asking for everything. She's just asking for one thing: to be safe enough to be real, to be soft, to be heard, to be felt. And when she finds that in you, you won't have to beg for her love, because she'll give it to you freely, completely, and without hesitation. Every woman, no matter how confident, how accomplished, or how seemingly unbothered she appears on the surface, holds within her a deep, unspoken yearning, not just to be admired, but to be truly seen, not in the surface, level way the world often sees her, where attention is given to her looks, her body, her fashion, or her smile, but in a soul, deep way, a way that penetrates beyond the physical and touches the core of who she is, because the truth is, women are seen all the time but rarely felt, rarely understood in their wholeness, in their nuance, in their beautiful contradiction. And that is what she craves, to be seen with a kind of attention that says, I see the woman you are even when the world isn't watching. A gaze that looks past the mask she wears for survival, the roles she performs out of obligation, the perfection she chases out of habit, and sees the little girl inside of her who still wants to be loved without condition, the queen inside of her who longs to be respected without needing to prove her worth, the warrior inside of her who fights battles silently, daily, and still shows up with grace, because being truly seen means that someone notices when her energy shifts even if she hasn't spoken a word. Someone remembers the things she said in passing and brings them back with intention. Someone doesn't just praise her outer glow, but recognizes the light she carries even on the days when she dims it to protect herself. And in a world that often objectifies, categorizes, and labels women, to be deeply seen is the most intimate form of connection she can experience. It's the form of intimacy that doesn't require a touch, because it's already undressing her soul. It's already saying, you don't have to perform here, you don't have to pretend here, you don't have to shrink or shine for my approval, just be. And that kind of presence is magnetic, it's rare, because it requires you to observe not just with your eyes, but with your intuition, to feel her even when she says she's fine, to recognize that her silence often speaks louder than her words, to know that when she pulls back, it might not be because she's distant, but because she's protecting a part of herself that has been dismissed, misunderstood, or judged before. And when a man can sit with her in that space, when he can honor her whole spectrum, her strength, her softness, her intensity, her sensitivity, her light and her shadow, it becomes unforgettable to her, not because he's perfect, but because he chooses to witness her as she is, not as he wishes her to be, and in that moment he unlocks a part of her that few people ever get access to, because when a woman feels truly seen, she stops performing, she stops analyzing herself in the mirror of your gaze, she lets her guard down and lets you in, not just into her life, but into her heart, her trust, her rhythm, her truth, and she will show you sides of herself that are not curated, not polished, not filtered, but raw, sacred, and real. And the irony is that so many men miss this because they are too busy trying to impress her, trying to fix her, trying to figure her out, when all she really wants is to be witnessed, to be acknowledged without being analyzed, to be held in the fullness of her emotional experience, without being made to feel like she's too much. And when you give her that kind of presence, when you look at her and say with your energy, you don't need to do anything more to be enough for me, you create a bond that no amount of attraction can replace, because attraction fades, chemistry evolves, but feeling seen, truly seen, is addictive, healing, grounding. And when she finds that with you, she stops seeking validation from the outside world, because she has found a home in your gaze, a mirror that doesn't distort her reflection, a space where she can finally breathe, and you will notice how her love begins to flow more freely, more deeply, more generously, not because you demanded it, but because you earned her surrender, because when she feels seen, she feels safe, and when she feels safe, she feels open, and when she feels open, she connects not out of neediness but from overflow, from inspiration, and that is when she becomes her most powerful, her most radiant, her most divine self, not because you changed her, but because you allowed her to be all of who she already was. Without interruption, ambition is attractive. Yes, there's no denying that a man who knows how to hustle, who has dreams and goals and works relentlessly to achieve them, carries a certain charm that turns heads. But for a woman who is deeply in tune with herself, who is emotionally intelligent and spiritually grounded, ambition without direction can feel like movement without meaning, like watching someone run fast but in circles, because what she truly desires isn't just raw ambition, it's purposeful direction, a sense that you're not just chasing success, but that you know why you're chasing it, where it's leading, what kind of legacy you're building, and how you want to evolve as a man along the way. Because when a woman is deciding whether to give you her time, her trust, her love, or her body, she's not just scanning your present. She's intuitively sensing the trajectory of your life. She wants to know if you have a compass, not just a calendar full of goals, because there's a big difference between being busy and being intentional. And while the world celebrates the man who's always on the move, the woman who is aligned with her deepest feminine essence is more drawn to the man who moves with clarity, who wakes up every day not just to survive, but to create something that matters, something he believes in, something that adds to who he is becoming. And when she meets that kind of man, her walls begin to lower, her trust starts to build, because she knows she can align herself with that kind of energy, with a man who is not just climbing a ladder, but one who knows why he built it in the first place. And that direction, that purpose, that inner knowing is what allows her to relax into her femininity, to soften, to trust your leadership, not because she is weak or incapable of leading herself, but because the feminine craves something greater to surrender to, not control, not dominance, but a clear, grounded, rooted masculine presence that says, I know where I'm going, and I'd love to take you with me. And that statement, whether spoken or simply felt, awakens something inside her that feels deeply safe, deeply inspired, deeply desired, because now she's not just part of a romance, she's part of a journey, a vision, a direction that invites her into something bigger than herself. And this is why men who lack direction often feel unstable to women on an energetic level, not because they're bad people, but because indecision feels unsafe. Inconsistency triggers uncertainty, and a man who keeps changing lanes, chasing shiny things, moving without intention, will cause her nervous system to brace itself, because she's not sure if she can lean into him, or if he'll disappear in another pivot, another plan, another self-invention. But when a man has direction, not in the rigid, controlling sense, but in the soulful, inspired, focused sense, she starts to feel her body relax around him. Her heart opens more, her nurturing energy flows more naturally, because she senses that he's not just in love with her. He's in love with life, with his purpose, with his path, and being next to that kind of man elevates her, sharpens her, challenges her in the best way, and makes her want to bring her best self to the relationship, not to compete, but to contribute, because now she's not just holding him down, she's helping him rise, and he's doing the same for her. And that mutual growth, that shared elevation is only possible when both people have clarity, but especially when the man has stepped into his purpose-driven masculinity, because that is the kind of leadership that earns her respect, that holds her attraction, that makes her feel proud to stand beside you, not because of your money or your status or your fame, but because she sees the fire in your eyes, consistency in your action, the maturity in your choices, and the confidence in your vision. And when you look at her with that same conviction, when you invite her into that direction, not as a passenger, but as a co-creator, something powerful begins to happen. The relationship starts to feel like a mission, not just a romantic escape, and love takes on a new depth, a new rhythm, a new intensity, because now it's rooted in purpose, not just passion, and that more than flowers, more than sweet talk, more than any gesture, is what keeps a hive. Al, you woman inspired, devoted, and emotionally invested, because she doesn't just want a man who dreams big. She wants a man who walks those dreams into reality with steady steps and an open heart. There's a common misunderstanding that women are mostly stimulated by what happens in the bedroom, that desire is purely physical, based on appearance, touch, or performance, but that couldn't be further from the truth for a woman who is deeply connected to her feminine energy, because the truth is that for her, intimacy begins long before a hand is laid on her body. It starts in the moments where she feels seen, desired, and emotionally touched, not through grand gestures, but through the little things, the subtle moments, the way you look at her when she walks by, the way you speak her name with intentionality, the way you listen, not just to respond, but to feel her energy, and what many never realize is that for her, mental and emotional foreplay is far more powerful than physical stimulation alone, because a woman's arousal is deeply tied to her mind, her emotions, her imagination, and how deeply she feels connected and cherished in the presence of her partner. And when you understand that her desire is like a slow, burning fire rather than an instant spark, you begin to show up differently. You begin to romance her throughout the day, not just when you want something from her, but because you want her to feel beautiful, wanted, and safe in her feminine essence, because when she feels emotionally held, mentally stimulated, and sensually admired, her body responds effortlessly, and this is why a woman might pull away even when the bedroom seems fine, because if her heart isn't involved, if her mind isn't engaged, if her spirit doesn't feel seen, her body can't truly surrender, and so many relationships suffer not because there is no love, but because the connection has been reduced to physical acts instead of emotional presence, mental teasing, spiritual connection, and subtle seduction. And what she truly desires is not someone who rushes to touch her body, but someone who knows how to create tension, how to build anticipation, how to create space for her desire to awaken naturally, slowly, and with full permission. And this doesn't mean being overly sexual in every interaction. It means being intentional, knowing how to turn her on with your words, with your gaze, with your energy, by showing her that she's not just a body to be touched, but a soul to be explored, a mind to be intrigued, a heart to be held with care. And when you master that, when you take the time to understand what makes her feel mentally aroused, when you pay attention to the stories she tells, the fantasies she hints at, the little emotional cues she drops, you unlock a version of her that is wild, passionate, and deeply engaged, not because you forced her into it, but because you gave her the freedom to open up, to blossom, to express her sensuality without pressure or performance. And the truth is, for a woman to be fully present in intimacy, she needs to feel relaxed. She needs to feel safe enough to let go, to let down her walls, and that only happens when the emotional and mental groundwork has been laid throughout the day, through affection, through quality attention, through playful conversations, thoughtful touches, sweet surprises, genuine compliments that go beyond her looks and reach into her essence. And when you look at her like she's art, when you speak to her like she's poetry, when you move with the kind of patience that tells her she's worth savoring, she will melt into you in ways that can't be taught. Because now it's not just her body that's involved, it's her whole being. And this is the level of connection she dreams about. The level that makes her feel wanted not just for what she gives, but for who she is. And the irony is that many men skip the foreplay thinking it's unnecessary, thinking she'll respond anyway. But what they miss is that without emotional and mental connection, her desire becomes mechanical, her affection becomes routine, and intimacy becomes a chore rather than an expression of joy. But the man who understands her language, who knows how to caress her soul before her skin, who speaks to her femininity like it's something sacred, will always be the one she craves, the one she thinks about randomly in the day, the one she saves her softest parts for, because he's earned access not just to her body, but to her trust, her vulnerability, her untamed feminine energy that only comes alive in the presence of emotional presence. And when you give her that, you don't just please her, you awaken her, And that kind of awakening changes everything. There's a beautiful but often misunderstood truth about women, especially women who have done the inner work, who are no longer just looking for someone to validate them or fill a void, but someone who can walk beside them, mirror their growth, and challenge them in ways that feel nourishing instead of critical, because at her core, what she desires is not a man who agrees with her every word, or follows her every whim, or gives her everything she wants the moment she wants it. What she craves is a man who can stand firm in his truth while honoring hers, who can see her clearly and love her enough to call her into her highest potential, not through pressure or judgment, but through his very presence, through the way he lives, leads, and loves with such integrity that she can't help but want to rise with him. And contrary to the soft fairy tales we've been told, true love isn't always comfortable. It's not always easy or convenient. It's a mirror, a teacher, a sacred fire that burns away illusions, that reveals parts of you that you didn't know still needed healing. And while she may say she wants peace, and yes, peace matters, what she also wants is expansion, depth, evolution. She wants a partner who can challenge her to think bigger, love deeper, speak more truthfully, and let go of old wounds. Someone who doesn't just say, "I accept you as you are," but also says, "I see who you're becoming, and I will walk with you as you grow." Because for the woman who is ready to become more of herself, the man who can challenge her gently is more attractive than the man who simply agrees to avoid conflict, because she knows that growth requires friction, that evolution demands honest reflection, and the man who can offer that without ego, without needing to be right, without belittling or controlling her, is the man who awakens her deepest respect, her deepest desire, her deepest trust. And this kind of challenge isn't about control. It's about care. It's not about breaking her down. It's about building her up, reminding her of who she is when she forgets, holding her to a standard she set for herself, but sometimes struggles to keep. And she will test you to see if you can hold that space, to see if you crumble when she pushes back, if you shrink when she's emotional, if you run when she grows too powerful, and if you do. She'll feel it, not just in her mind, but in her heart, in her body, because the feminine craves strength, not dominance, but depth, not perfection, but emotional resilience. And when she feels that you can meet her with both softness and strength, with empathy and truth, she will begin to reveal parts of herself that no one else has access to, the parts that only emerge when she feels both loved and led. And this doesn't mean trying to change her, mold her, or make her into your ideal. It means reflecting her greatness back to her when she's forgotten it. It means being the steady hand when she's spinning, the calm voice when she's caught in emotion, the man who doesn't get intimidated by her power but amplifies it, who doesn't run from her intensity but invites it, channels it, honors it, because she doesn't want a man who competes with her. She wants a man who complements her, who adds to her, who challenges her to shed the masks, the coping mechanisms, the self-doubt, and step fully into her truth. And yes, this takes courage, it takes patience, it takes emotional maturity, but the reward is a love that is raw, real, and deeply fulfilling, a connection where you are both growing, both rising, both becoming. And when she feels that with you, she will never stop choosing you, not because she needs you, but because she respects you, because she feels safe to be her full self around you, and safe enough to let you guide her in the moments when she can't see clearly, because she trusts your insight, your intention, your devotion. And in a world where so many people settle for shallow connection, for temporary excitement, for surface-level pleasure, this kind of love stands out. It creates a gravitational pull between two souls who are not afraid of truth, of tension, of growth. And when you love a woman this way, when you challenge her to expand while deeply holding space for her softness, she will not only respect you, she will follow you, not out of submission, but out of alignment, out of love, out of deep appreciation for the man who didn't just want her, but wanted her to become everything she was born to be. So here's the truth. Women aren't mysterious, they're misunderstood. The world has reduced their desires to clichés and stereotypes, but beneath the surface is a heart that beats with wisdom, depth, and longing. If you really want to unlock a woman's soul, learn to meet her in these 5 sacred places. See her, hear her, challenge her, stimulate her, and above all, make her feel safe in your presence. When you do that, you won't just capture her attention. You'll awaken her devotion. And that, my friend, is the power no one tells you about.